Good morning to each and every one of you. Wherever you're joining us from this second day of March 2026. Good morning to you. We hope you are well. We hope breakfast has been served already or is in the process, or maybe you're finished. What did you guys have this morning for breakfast or having for breakfast? Do let us know. We are delighted as usual to have all of you here with us. A very good morning to all of you. Good to see Chanel on the live. Humi is here. Claire Alexis Charmley Richmond is here as well. And Edward Brooms, Dennis, Nabjo, Owen, Brian. Good to have all you folks on our broadcast this second day of March. For your information, that is the date. It's just after 9 where we are, the National Capital City where we're broadcasting live in Georgetown. And happy to have all of you folks with us this morning. Neocon says they're having McDonald's steak and bagel. McDonald's steak and bagel. You see, not everybody can have steak, you know. Not everybody can have steak. So I say, count yourself lucky. Not everybody can have steak, but everybody can participate in matrimony. Whether it's in the National Capital City here in Georgetown, or it's in my born town, the place where I was born, you know, a couple of years ago, too long. A couple of years ago, I was there yesterday with some of my colleagues, brothers and sisters, coalition, representative, APNU coalition to be certain. APNU coalition representatives yesterday underground in the mining town of Linden. Fascinating people, beautiful people. You know, Lindeners are very good at sports. You know, a lot of political figures emerged from Linden too. And also a lot of good singers. A lot of good singers. See, when I hold a note, Mandy, I don't sing a lot now because I don't want to put some people out of business. You know, Ivor Miller, good morning. Good morning, Ivor, joining us from Region 11. Happy, happy, happy to have you on the live this morning. Mr. and Mrs., thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. And as I said, yesterday was Marsh and Linden. I think yes, it was Marsh in New Amsterdam as well. But I can't speak for New Amsterdam because I was not there. I was not there. You could only go where you invited you. Really and truly. You could only go where you invited. Yeah. Martin Lorimer, good to see you on the live this morning. Brenda, Auntie Sandra, good to see you. Claudette. Julie G is here as well. Sandra's niece. Julie G. Guys, we're so happy that you folks are here with us. Linden was beautiful. It was good. It was good weather. The folks came out, and I was so happy to greet so many folks yesterday. Hundreds of folks. And we were so happy to do that. On your behalf, of course. On your behalf. We said Julie G said hi, and Bernice and Gwyneth. They all say hi, you know. That's what we told the Lindeners. Gwyneth, Deborah Pearson, Evelina Whitaker. Great to have all of you folks on the live with us. Folks, you know they say a day in politics is like 3 weeks. It's like 3 weeks, you know, like 3 weeks. So, happy Mashumani to all. We're in the Lenten season. We're in Easter season. Mashumani, rest after hard work. Happy Mashumani to all. And the young people, especially, they outdid themselves yesterday. Us young people, we got to stick together. Outdid themselves yesterday. But as I said, a day could be like 3 weeks, because over the weekend, we saw the supreme leader of Iran killed. You know, killed. I don't know who drew first blood. But Iran is in the throes of possible regime change, because that is what Israel and that is what the US have been saying. These what I don't want to call them attacks per se, the bombings and the military engagement with Iran. That is what it is hoped that it produces. Now, I don't know how many of you are in agreement with that. Good morning, Julie G. Mandy and Orin Don. Who me? Sabrina Blue. I don't know how many of you might be in agreement with that. Right? But it saw the killing of the supreme leader, for all intents and purposes, the head of Iran, the cleric Khomeini. And we were told that a number of other figures, religious and otherwise, were also killed. So we are eager to see what is the end game. What is the end game in Iran? You know, it was a weekend like this past weekend that Maduro was taken. Was a weekend quite like this. So we're watching it. And we have seen the government of Guyana, for instance. They have put out a statement denouncing Iran's ballistic missile strike on Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. Right? We've seen that over the weekend. Right? This statement also captured Qatar and Kuwait. Israel's ballistic missile strike on those countries. Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait. Yeah. And we've seen out of Tacuba Lodge, them saying that this engagement, right, this assault, as being unprovoked and a breach of international law, and going further to express solidarity as well, right? To express solidarity with the Gulf states. Yeah. So all of that is happening, and no doubt you folks have been tuned in, watching from your end. No doubt you've been tuned in. So that is happening on that front. That's happening on that front. And then we got closer to home. On that very statement, out of Foreign Affairs Ministry here, I've noted some pundits and commentators, they're saying the statement says nothing about Israel or the USA and their involvement. That the statement out of Tacuba Lodge falls short of that. Yeah, I'm eager to hear some more from the learned Foreign Affairs Minister, Utah. Very, very eager to hear some more from him. So while that is happening, we're being told, as I said, closer to home, much closer to home. CARICOM says it's sending some aid to Cuba. There's a U.S. embargo on Cuba. I don't even understand anymore why we're fighting this. I remember when President Barack Obama says, he ain't fighting no dumb war. Right? He ain't fighting no dumb war. And he could not understand or rationalize why is it 50 years later he must inherit this policy of isolationism and perpetuate that. It is some of the issues Cuba being currently embargoed for, restricted and blocked, occurred before he was even alive. Yeah. And he wasn't prepared to come and pick up the baton of that kind of exclusion and run with it. CARICOM says that it's going to be giving some humanitarian aid to Cuba. Humanitarian aid. This is at a February 27th meeting of heads of government. They agreed to dispatch humanitarian supplies. So we're watching this as well. We're watching this as well to see how it goes down. We're going to be watching that. So a lot of folks saying too that CARICOM has to do more. CARICOM has to do more. CARICOM is not doing enough. Some of these problems graduate from little problems, and then CARICOM hobble in and try to bring some leadership. For instance, Haiti. Haiti hasn't worked out for us. So far, it has not. It just has not worked out for us so far. But we got to keep at it, keep talking, keep dialoguing. Hopefully we get to move the needle. I was so privileged yesterday morning to be in church with Brother Saiku Andrews, Member of Parliament. My brother went to a praise tabernacle in London yesterday morning, and then we were greeting citizens along the marsh route there as well. And he put budget 2026 in perspective, put it in perspective quite recently. He says a sand, stone, and cement. Sand, stone, and cement budget, among some other things. This was on a partnership for national unities. Friday's press conference on Friday. Yeah, characterizing the budget, our brother psychiatrist.
I said in my presentation that this budget is a budget of sand, stone, and cement. Over 50% of it goes to infrastructure. And so the president dismisses the notion that people say you can't eat road. And he has this whole argument about it. But they were at one time saying to the APNU that people cannot eat road. Now I say to the government, people cannot eat roads. People need jobs. There's no supply of up-to-date data with regards to unemployment, youth unemployment. There's no data, but the people continue to feel the squeeze. As MP Duncan said, when you hear a people are up in arms about $100,000 cash grant around Christmas time, you know that things are bad. You don't have to even have data to prove that. The proof is in the pudding, in what the people are saying. You look at the Starbucks News article on the cost of living. It is expressed there daily. So we don't see this budget. There are some measures in this budget that we agree with, but for the most part, when it comes to cost of living, there's no measure in this budget basically to alleviate poverty and to address cost of living. You give $900 million to men on mission. We do not know what are their targets, what is it they're gonna what they've achieved in the past 3 years to justify the expansion of that program. We have no data to suggest that we should contract that program. We don't have that. But when it comes to poverty alleviation, there's a line in the budget for just about $100 million. Now, think of the contrast. You're giving men on mission 9 times more than you're putting towards poverty alleviation. And that in itself speaks to the government's approach and a willingness to address poverty and to address cost of living of the Guyanese people. It is yet to be seen, but a time will come. You say sometimes, a time will come and the Guyanese people will have to make a decision as to who they think is best able to manage. We're going to continue to push these issues to the fore and continue to educate the Guyanese people. And we're hopeful that at the end of this, they will make a decision and give us the opportunity, as in the APNU, to really run the affairs in a prudent manner of this country and allow every Guyanese, especially the 50+% that is in poverty, to move from the bottom to the middle.
And you know what? Like clockwork, there's an article in today's Starbucks News that talks about how the cost of living is affecting people. And of course, like clockwork, like every week, it says the same thing. People catching the tail. People catching the tail. People catching the tail. People catching hell. A totally separate story. Last Friday, we noted that 5 men were arrested for stealing 8 packs of cheese. 5 men from a supermarket in LBI up on the East Coast. The born intention. 5 packs of cheese. 8 packs of cheese, rather. 5 men. How much does that work out to? That's 1/3, 1/4. How does that work out? 8 packs of cheese, 5 men. How do you rationalize? How do you say, how do you conspire? You're going to thief cheese today. We're going to thief cheese today. I want them that's their modus operandi. If people make a decision by I'm eating beer bread a little while long. Right? Joe lady said it's bake too plain. She tried eating plain bake. We gotta do something about this. How, how do people come up with this idea? You know, ruminate on this idea and then put into action. We're gonna lash this place. So this incident they said occurred on Friday, as I said, on the East Coast. The more intention, somewhere around 1:25 p.m. It's bright daytime. Bright daytime. It says being treated as a simple larceny case. And according to the Ghana police force, initial inquiries indicated two men entered the supermarket. One allegedly removed 8 packs of cheese valued at listen to this, $8,640. Not even quite 50 US. 5 men are willing to risk, apparently, risk their lives. 8 packs of cheese valued at $8,640. The report said that they concealed cheese. One man concealed the cheese on his person. And apparently the whole thing was captured on CCTV cameras, closed circuit television cameras. Right? And the police has managed to apprehend them. The police goes on to say that along with the I think that's the salient points. That's the salient point. In the fastest growing economy in the world, 5 men, 8 packs of cheese, valued 8,000 something dollars. You know, what's the sad part? Right? What's the sad part? Nav Joe says the song's cheesy. True story. You know what's the sad part? Some people eating teeth and cheese. I wonder if some people know the cheese is teeth and cheese. Maybe daddy come home, Huzzy comes home and says, I bring this for you. Right. You're gonna eat plain macaroni. You can add a little cheese to it. When you add cheese to macaroni, it becomes mac and cheese. Not some macaroni and cheese. Mac and cheese. Right? Naomi says macaroni pie, kick dog. And you get a cheesy macaroni pie. I wonder how much people eating teeth and cheese and they even know it. You know, stolen cheese, you don't even know it. There's things to make you wonder. Teeth and cheese. Okay. So here we are. They said the matter was reported and the police intercepted a vehicle with a gentleman. Oh boy. This is plenty enough. Fastest growing economy, high income country, biggest per capita GDP. Y'all know all them fancy things on paper. You know all the fancy things on paper. So we ain't gotta persuade you. You know all them on paper. But this is where we are. This is where we are. So the teeth and all the cheese. And then the government they involved in another kind of thieving. You see that Berbice River Bridge? See the Berbice Bridge? Another set of thieving happening there. Another set of thieving going, going along by the Berbice Bridge. Another set of thieving. We see the people who thieve the 8 pieces of cheese or packs of cheese. But you see the white color. You see wickedness in high places. They dig out the money from the National Insurance Scheme, they invest in the bridge. You're getting principles in this bridge issue who contributed a lesser share than NAS and getting more. And getting more. And on the very press conference we had last Friday, the question was asked, whether we think this whole issue could be salvaged. Could it be salvaged? You know, the government trying to buy out the bridge at the moment. Buy out the bridge. And here is our brother Psycho Andrews standing in their way. Standing in their way and saying, listen, you gotta reconsider this whole thing. Reconsider how you are going about doing it. The mechanism that you all are using. While you all are the tappy, making your all bread, eating your all food, men at the bottom suffering. Men at the bottom suffering. Here's what he said in Friday's press conference on the subject matter.
Well, I'm not sure that even if NIS gets back it's what is due to it from the Berbice Bridge investment, whatever remains, that it would be able to be solvent enough to honor its obligation to its contributors in terms of pension. But what I do know, and the NIS is a whole different, we can go around because the government owes NIS $2 billion. We can also look at that. But the accelerated acquisition of the Berbice Bridge, it can be. It really makes no sense at this point. But if you do pursue it, then it cannot be that we pay for the Berbice Bridge by anticipating that, okay, we're going to add a 10% on traffic, on bridge traffic, and then we're going to calculate that and subsidize that over the next 2 years. So we compound the 10% for 2 years. We cannot take that approach. So we could probably take an approach of a discount cash analysis approach in buying the Berbice Bridge, where we consider basically the net cash value, and you consider what is required of the net cash value over the 2 years, taking you to 2027. And you also have to be able to factor in the maintenance schedule that the Berbice Bridge Company is obligated to adhere to. Now, if that maintenance schedule is not honored, then we have to factor in what it would cost to honor that maintenance schedule, because it makes no sense we purchase a bridge in 2026, which is supposed to come to us free in 2027, and we're saddled with all the maintenance costs that the bridge company is contractually obligated to honor. So we have to consider all of those and come up with a buyout price. So we don't come up with at a discounted buyout price in 2026. That could be a prudent approach. So if that is the approach, then yes, we can receive value for money. But the funny thing about it is that when the minister was asked the question in Parliament as we interrogated the estimates, he said to us, one thing he can assure us, he could not say to us what is the ballpark figure that he was looking at to purchase this bridge. All he can say to us is that what he can guarantee, it would be less than the subsidies. That is not a sufficient answer for the Guyanese people who have spent almost 20 years being saddled with the high cost of crossing that bridge. That to come to this point when they're supposed to get this bridge for free, at zero cost, and you're going to say to them, you're going to purchase it 1 year in advance, but it will be cheaper than if you were to subsidize the toll. That is not a sufficient answer.
Y'all think it's one thing wrong? Y'all think it's one thing wrong in this country? You see a lot of people, and a lot of people see only the cheese. See only the cheese stories. Watch them scripts. Watch them scripts. You know, watch them. You know, in this vehicle, I was intercepted with these five guys that robbed this supermarket. This eight packs of cheese. You had a construction worker, right, in the car that was intercepted. You had a gold miner, purportedly, allegedly, in the car that was intercepted, and others, and others. But we don't see them boys. 1 year out. Why are you fidgeting with this bridge? Mandy, Neocon, Andrew, why are you fidgeting with the bridge? Doing some grassmatics, trying to come up with some fancy Nancy story of why you fidgeting with the bridge. Them boys live very well, you know. Very well. They're not even buying cheese that costs 8,000. Right? That cheese too cheap. Cheese too cheap. Them boys probably don't eat cheese. They have caviar in their toaster, whatever it is. You know, cheese, that's scrape food. You know, they eat the best. Shanika Haynes, who moderates our press conferences for us, APNU, she's also a counselor with Region 4. She made a point recently. You see this 14-year-old on the Essequibo course that lost her life as a result of heart failure and anemia. The institutions that fail her. How you go to a hospital at 14? The hospital knowing the age of consent is 16, above 16. A child comes in pregnant and they deliver the baby and say, go home and have a nice time. Were the authorities calling? Social services, were they calling? So our kids making kids. Our kids making kids. And a report I read said the family heard the child crying for a long time. The baby, the baby. And then when they checked on the 14-year-old, they realized she died. And the autopsy says heart failure, anemia, among other things. We're killing our own kids, boy. We're killing our own kids. We're killing our own kids, you know. And here is Shanika talking to us about the implication for the systems that should be safeguarding and that are not. You know, you think it's one thing wrong? It's a lot. Take a look.
We're talking about institutions that should be looking in. Now, she delivered at the age of 14, and I do not understand how is it that a young lady under the age of 16 would have given birth to a child. You do not hear where the welfare would have stepped in, whether they found the person who would have impregnated her or not. She should have been referred to a welfare officer who should have been making checks at that home to really see what's happening and to keep check on that young lady. That in the case of her dying from what the postmortem is saying is something that could have been caused simply because proper care has not been given to her in the home. And again, we come back to issues. We don't know whether the family was able to provide the correct nutrients for her, because cost of living is really tearing families up. So there are many issues that could have caused or led to her death in this case. But those institutions that are set in should have been following up in this matter to ensure that this young lady's life could not have been lost the way it has been. And again, this is the government taking responsibility for the institutions and the responsibilities that they should when it comes to these situations. There is no way that the welfare system should have not been making regular checks on this young lady due to the circumstance in which she went to the hospital and she delivered a child at the age of 14. So again, we have to call on persons being held responsible. I want to hear a statement from the welfare department, whether they were involved or not, and how was the hospital able to release her into the care of the family that brought her in this state. So again, our institutions.
Forgive us. You might get a little feedback. Forgive us. So the point I was making, the point I was making is the fact that we are living in some totally different Guyanas. You know, how the wealthy got it different. Are you folks hearing us? How the wealthy got it different. Are you folks hearing us now? The wealthy live different. That's the point I was making. And that for those who rob in the Demerara, the Berbice River Bridge, how they live so different. Those with money, they're 14-year-olds have a different experience. Have a different experience. You know, that's the challenge that we have. All right. But these are issues we gotta continue to examine. I don't want to subject you all too much to the feedback. What happens we found when we're charging the mic and we have it and when we're charging the receiver and we're broadcasting, there is where we're getting that feedback. That is what we found. Apologies there. When we're charging the receiver and we are broadcasting at the same time, there is where we're getting the feedback. But suffice to say, we take a break this morning here, our morning program. We can see you guys back this evening at another program. But it just underscores some of the challenges that we have as a country. Thanks for bearing with us these 40 plus minutes. We're gonna take a break here. We're gonna cut our morning program. We're gonna end our morning program here. We're wishing you guys all a fantastic day, and we're gonna see you guys back on our next broadcast. I think we published several articles for the morning already. You have all that for your reading consumption. Thank you guys so much, and we're gonna see you guys on the next broadcast. Have a great day, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you.